Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you Tuesday, April the 13th, the year's 2021. Let's talk trading. What to practice, I should say part 2, with Walmal. And this video is for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and from Walmal's. Walmal. Yesterday I was talking to the boys and girls and non-binary traders about practicing, and one of the things I mentioned was you have to practice what you're not good at if you want to get better.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that, there's also that expression, perfect practice makes perfect, and that kind of plays into that a little bit, and the idea is that there's two parts of practice. You got to practice, you got to figure out and practice what you're not good at. In other words, go at it, figure out what you're not doing right, and then start implementing it and start practicing it time in and time again, and just work that out. So for me, it becomes a very deliberate type of thing where, and I think you can attest to it. You see what I do a lot of times, and that is, I'm done trading for the day, but I just continue practicing what I'm doing and just trying to hone my skill, and just make it better and better, and that's what you got to do. But so you need to practice, but the other part of it is you got to practice. If you want to get better, you got to practice well. You got to go and do what you need to do, and do it the right way. And then when you catch yourself not doing something right, sometimes it just means, you know what, I'm not doing this right. Put a halt to it. Stop it. Figure out what you're not doing right, and then continue on and practice what you know that's going to make you do something. And it's the whole idea again of being deliberate. In other words, when you see things on your charts, you're able to sit there and say, "Aha, there it is. Go do it now." Don't be afraid of losing. Don't be afraid of whatever, because you've put the practice in and you just know what to go and do.
Well, since we've been doing the Walmal method, and we started this over a year ago, but I think it was a year ago, March. What advice would you give to the traders out there? In other words, with the Walmal method, what should they practice?
Well, the first thing is just take the trades for right now. Just take them, and what you need to do is, I say this all the time, but, I don't care because it's something that's important to say, and that is that you need to seed time, and it's like this morning, my first 3 trades that I took were all Walmart trades, and my very first trade was I got out with -7. It bashed me. Got out -7. Really didn't even have a chance to get out other than at the -7. Trade didn't go where I expected it to go. And the thing is, you can get depressed over that. Oh man, I just took a beating. Look at that, And but what happened after that was I then took 2 10-pip trades in a row. So, when you're all said and done, you're up 13 pips. Well, mission accomplished, But, that's how I approach it. So what would I advise people to do? Take the trades, and looking back, at my 7-pip loss, yeah, it was, it happens. It's just what it is. And, and it doesn't stop me from not taking the next trade. I just need to go and do that. Now, I do know, for instance, last week, there was a lot of chop, especially in the middle of the week. And I think I talked about it on a video. At one point in time, I certainly did talk about it on the Facebook channel, I believe, a little bit. And it was the type of thing where I saw that chop. It was sort of like, okay, look what it's doing. You know what? I'm up 3 pips. I'm taking my pips and going home. I'm just going to collect them and go home. Wait for the next trade because, it was just that type of a week. It just chopped back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if you're going to try to get 10 pips off the trade last week, you're probably going to get chopped up pretty bad. But that's part of that seat time again. Looking at the market, watching what it does, and being able to adjust to it and knowing that, nothing is foolproof, but that practice of just sitting there and just watching it every day, day in and day out, what it's going to do is it's going to enable you to be able to see those things. I had watched a video of some trader, I don't recall what his name was or anything, and he asked the question, what's the most important thing? And it was funny because he said the same thing. It's seat time. It's just literally screen time, watching it. And he said doing in the beginning when he first started trading. He was getting up, and watching the chart. First thing he did was watch the charts, and he would watch the charts 10 hours, 12 hours a day. The last thing he did before he went to bed, he was watching the charts. And that, is something that has to happen. You need to go and have that experience. If you think you're just going to be able to walk in, make the trade and get out, now you may be successful. But for me, for everything I've done in life, I've had to go and practice it and just keep on practicing it.
Well, so you're basically telling the traders is you take the trade at the Walmal line in the direction, and then, of course, you have your stop loss in place. And then you and then you take profit, I guess, according to your money management 1051. And then you just see what happens.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what you do. The only thing I made the change for last week was the fact because of seeing all that chop in the middle of the week, I made the decision, you know what? Because of this chop, I'm just not going to I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to hold on for the 5. I'm not going to hold on for the 10. I'm just going to go and take my money off the table now and just know that that's what it's going to be. Now, saying all that, there were a couple of trades where I got out, and I got out with 3 or 5 pips, and then watched it go, and it could have gotten 20 pips or 30 pips. That's going to happen too. That's just what. In fact, I think it was on the phone with you earlier today where that happened, where I took the trade and I got out and took 10 pips on the deal, but if I would have stuck, I could have gotten 20 or 30 pips. Well, that's the only reason why I think I got out was because it was right before news and this type of thing. Like, okay, let's get out now because who knows what's going to happen in news.
Exactly.
But and I agree with you, 100%. You just gotta practice, and part of it is, what is the purpose of practicing? The purpose of it is to take something, and make it so that you're able to do it, over and over again consistently. Once you learn how to go and do it consistently, then it's game over. Now you've got a new career. Now you got a new way of living. But you got to be able to do it consistently, which means when you practice, you can do 2 things. There are 2 things to practice. You can go and practice what you're doing well and just consistently keep on practicing that, and that's a great thing to do. But also, if you know there's something that you're not very good at, but you know what you're supposed to be doing, well, that means you need to go and practice not doing it. Practice not making that same mistake over and over again.
Yeah, because in fact, I said something to you today about not making 2 mistakes in a row. If you make 1, that's okay. Just don't make a second. And I don't mean repeat the same mistake, but there might be another mistake that you might make. And just don't do that. So, for example, I entered a trade and then I let it run against me. Well, I always have a thing. If a trade goes against me, the second it gives me a chance to get out with a point or more, just get out. And I did that twice, and each time I was glad I did because it gave me that split-second opportunity, and then it reversed on me.
Exactly. And you just got to be aware of that, pay attention, and part of it is, seat time also is not just looking at the charts and watching the movement. Part of that seat time is to sit down at the end of the day and reevaluate every one of your trades. I've got that sonic, indicator
right.
that puts all your trades up onto the chart. I don't do this as consistently as I used to, but what I used to do is print out the chart the entire day with the sonic on it, and then go back and look at the paper. For me, I'm an old guy, so I like having paper in front of me. So I'd go and look at it with the on paper and say, why did I go and enter that trade? Was that a good trade to enter? And I would go and evaluate every single trade. And I don't care whether I won on a trade or lost on a trade, because I can go and screw up and make money, and just as much as I can go and do everything right and lose money. The most important thing is, am I doing my method the way I have set out? Am I following my strategy the way I plan to go and follow my strategy? Because my strategies are all based on statistics. So if I start violating my strategy, I'm going to lose. I may not lose today, but I'm going to lose. So I need to to go and make sure that I'm following the rules step by step and doing it. And I think that seat time of doing that, of sitting there actually going and looking at those charts, it makes it clear, because what you then start doing, oh, this is the mistake, and then write down on a piece of paper. Oh, I made this mistake, and you write that down on a piece of paper. Oh, I did that mistake, and again, write it down. And then you start looking, and then you look at that piece of paper for the day. This is what I'm doing consistently wrong. Look at it for the week now. Look at it for the month now. You think about it in a month. Let's say you had, 30 or 40 trades in a month. If I see I'm making the same mistake 5, 6, 7 times during the month, well, there's a problem there. That's something I need to address. Either I'm doing something wrong because maybe there's something wrong with my strategy, or there's something wrong with my personality, and I'm just not willing to sit through it. Or maybe there's just, something else that's just going on. It's happening at a specific time. Write down the dates and times when it's happening too. Some people like to go write down what pair it is. So, some people love to trade a pair, and they're never successful on that pair. Write it down. Look at those from a point of view of statistics, and see if there's something that you can rule out. Or, I'm just a dummy, and I just keep on doing the same thing wrong over and over again. And what do I do then? I sit there and I sit there and I imagine, how can I go and fix this? Or I start thinking about, it's sort of like, when you play sports, one of the things you do is you play all types of scenarios out in your head. If the ball is hit here, if the guy goes there, you play it out. How am I going to go and do whatever I can do to go and accomplish whatever goal I'm trying to meet? Well, you play those type of games out in your head. Okay, if price gets here, I'm going to do this. If price goes there, I'm going to do that. And actually have that in your head as a gameplay. Think about those things, even after the trade is done, even after the day is done. Go back and rerun it in your head. What could I have done better? That's part of your practice.
Exactly. Is there, I was going to say, so is there anything else, you think they need to practice? Because I was also thinking in terms of the brain management.
It's exactly right. And I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but didn't say it just a few seconds ago. Sometimes you wind up doing things wrong because it's something, you see something, you get fearful. You have either regret, or you're fearful of missing out, or some type of fear sets in, and the next thing you know, you're pulling the plug on something, or you're going and doing something just because of that fear factor that's there. So why are you fearful? Are you fearful because you're risking too much money? If that's the case, then you need to go and sit down and say, you know what, I can't risk that many lots based on my account size, or I'm just not ready to go and see trades of that size yet. Maybe that just means, I'm not saying go to a demo at that point, but maybe at that point you need to go and say, let's say I was trading 2 lots or 3 lots, and and the trade goes against me right initially, but it's really not really going against me. What it is just regular market moving, meaning, let's say I'm trading with a broker that's giving a 1.5 or a 2 pip, a spread on it. So as soon as I press the button, I'm immediately down $60 or whatever. It's sort of like, ooh, that's rough. Well, if that's the problem and that really bothers you, well, maybe scale it back. Okay, get used to those numbers, and then what you do is you just slowly increase it. I know that's what I had to do, because the broker I had consistently would run 2, 3, pip spreads, and I would always get lousy fills with them. I'm not with that broker anymore, but that's sometimes what happens, and what you got to do is, in that situation, at least what I did to overcome that was, okay, I'm clearly not ready to go and take that much of a loss before we even get into the trade. Obviously I'm in the trade, but I haven't even allowed the trade to go and do what I'm expecting the trade to do. Well, what do I have to do? I got to go and cut back on my lot size to a point where that number is comfortable. And then what I did was I just slowly increased it. I didn't go from, 1 lot to 3 lots in one jump. It was sort of like, okay, I'm going to go and increase this by 1/4 of a lot. I'm going to increase this by maybe 1/2 a lot, until I got used to seeing numbers like that, where it didn't seem to bother me as much anymore.
Yeah. So, boys and girls and non-binary traders, the fastest 15 minutes in trading is up, and we'll probably revisit that topic once again. So, at your trading platform, always remember, never forget, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.